Hello and welcome to the Spontaneous Brilliance podcast. Once again, we're here to talk about all things spontaneous brilliance, which means we're here to talk about you in the metaphorical, metaphysical, guide to life kind of way. And those of you that have been here before, you know that the two foundational metaphors are one, that everyone is a genius, but if you ask a fish to climb a tree, it'll spend its entire life believing it's stupid. And two, that all the world is a stage. So everything that works to make for a successful performance on the stage also works to make for a successful performance on the great stage of life. And so here we are. And the thing I want to talk to you about today is this idea that we're perfectly cast in the role that we are playing. You know, each of us are here playing a role on the great stage of life. Our soul has incarnated into this human being, and this is the character that our soul is playing. And yet we still spend a great deal of time deciding whether or not we got here correctly, you know, or whether the other guy did. But today, let's talk most about our own judgment of ourselves and whether or not we believe that we are perfectly cast in the role that we're here to play. And I'm just going to start by saying, yeah, we are. We are perfectly cast in the role we are here to play. That means that all of our qualities, all of our gifts, all of our challenges, all of the things that we were born into this life with is exactly what we meant to be born into this life with. Every actor that is cast in a particular role is cast in that role because they have the inherent qualities and the talents and the characteristics and the abilities that they can bring to the role to make that its most successful performance, right? So that's intentional. If someone has to sword fight or dance or sing in their role, the director casting that show does not cast someone with no ability to do that. Actors come into the role, they train before getting into the role to have the characteristics, to have the abilities, to have the skill sets to accomplish what they came there to accomplish when they step on that stage to play that role. And the same is true for us in life. When we are exploring and playing the character of us, we have to begin by fundamentally accepting that who we are, all of who we are, everything about us, our talents, our propensities, all the qualities that make us us, including all of the challenges, are exactly what we meant to have in order to give our best performance in this particular role, at this particular time, in this particular production. In this production on the great stage of life, we came here for a reason. We came to play a role and experience the growth process of moving toward our bliss. We were cast in this role with this particular production quite intentionally, quite specifically. And you are perfect. That's my point. You are perfect in this role that you are playing. And I want you to embrace that. I want you to know that with every fiber of your being. And remember the monkeys and the fish, right? The fish is judged by its ability to climb the tree. But if that fish is focused on its inability to climb the tree, then it's going to waste its entire life thinking it was miscast, thinking it doesn't belong where it is, or it's not good enough. And if it's a rhinoceros that every time it gets near the tree, it knocks it over because it's just bringing too much to the party, again, the rhinoceros is going to think it's miscast, that it doesn't belong in this production. But that's impossible. If you're here, you're here in this production. This is you. This is the you that you're here to play. So play it fully. You know, I work with a lot of people that are neurodivergent. They might be on the autism spectrum, or they might have fetal alcohol syndrome, or they might have mosaic Down syndrome, or they may just be even undiagnosed, but know that they feel that they kind of don't fit. And we're a very neurodiverse species, but there are those that are neurodivergent that makes them unable to actually meet the norm, right? To actually do it the way that the well-meaning monkeys want them to do it. That is never going to happen. And so they tend to think of themselves as not enough or inadequate or broken or failed, or they think of themselves as too much. And the too much people are the people that I get as clients a lot, where absolutely lovely, wonderful, imaginative, boisterous, life-affirming human beings have been told for decades sometimes that they are too much, that they're too loud, that they're too big, that they're too expressive, that they shouldn't, that they might not, or whatever, that they are too much, that they're bringing too much. And I have actually several clients, but in Spontaneous Brilliance, I wrote about one client, and I called her Mabel, and she said, she said to me, and it's remarkable because this is a girl that I see as not only being wonderful and smart and brilliant and talented, but I also see her as hiding a lot, right? And yet she came to me with the notion that she had been told many times that she was too much. And that too much moniker is what caused her to start to hide, I believe. And so I'm going to tell you what I told her. She already knew about the metaphorical monkey story. And so I said to her, of course you're too much. Of course you're too much to the well-meaning monkeys because you're a lion. And if you're out there roaring, that freaks the monkeys out because the monkeys know that you could eat them for dinner. That it's uncomfortable for monkeys to be surrounded by creatures they don't understand. And trust me, to the well-meaning monkeys, you, me, most of us, they can't understand. Trust me, I'm definitely one of those muches. I'm definitely a much. And if you are a much, what I want you to know is much is what you're meant to be. You were perfectly cast in your role. You weren't brought here. You didn't bring yourself into this lifetime in order to try to figure out how to not be like you are. That doesn't make sense, does it? But we do that. We start being told, like I was told by my grandmother when I was a little girl, she used to tap me on the leg with her fingernail when I was fidgeting in a public place. And she'd say, "You're acting like you've got ants in your pants." I can't tell you how long that image stayed with me, like the little ants climbing around. It used to just creep me out as a little kid. But she would always say, "You're acting like you've got ants in your pants." She was always telling me to settle down. She was always telling me to stop. I always had my brother telling me to shut up when I was singing in the back seat of the car every day because, the radio was always playing and it was the 1960s and I was always singing at the top of my lungs and, that car was an enclosed space. I kind of can't blame him retroactively, but that same brother, my beautiful brother, walked onto the stage when he came to a performance. I think I was 19 or 20, and I played Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar. And at the end of the final night, he came to the final night's performance. And after we all bowed and, had our ovation and stuff, and they closed the curtain, then the whole cast stayed on the stage and the curtains just opened back up. And the audience just was invited to come on the stage and hang with everybody. It was actually a very cool experience. And my brother came up onto the stage, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "I am so sorry for all the times I told you to shut up when you were singing in the backseat of the car." And that was a major victory to me. But I had spent a long time trying to figure out how to maneuver getting my brother's approval and shutting up in order to make him happy, in order to fit in, because I admired the heck out of my brother. I wanted to get his attention, get his approval. So I did a lot of things in my young life to do that. I was so much. I still probably am. If you ask Rex or my kids or my friends or my colleagues, yeah, I'm much. Whatever much is, embrace your much. Even when it's scary, even when you don't understand your much. Know that accepting your role, honoring who you naturally are, is what you are here to do. Uta Hagen, great acting teacher, said, "Overcome the notion that we must be regular. It robs you of the chance to be extraordinary." Right? Spontaneous brilliance is about everybody knowing that each of us has a unique creative genius, and that unique creative genius gets shared and acknowledged and respected regardless of our age or our education or our perceived abilities. Whatever we have, that's what needs to shine. Lots of times, inexperienced actors think that their job is to come into a role and do whatever the director tells them to do, to just wait until they hear the instructions and then do that. But the reframing of that is necessary in order to teach them that their job, any actor that is cast in a role, their job is to be the expert on that role. I used to always say to my actors when I was directing in a theater company, I would say, rehearsal is not the place to come and do your work. Rehearsal is the place to come and show me the work you've done. And that's the truth. So this is not a rehearsal. This is our performance. And you and me and each of us, we are the expert in the role that we are playing. Only you know what your calling is. Only you know what your passion is. Only you know what is giving you a tug from your heart. Yogananda said, "Bring into play the almighty power within you so that on the stage of life you can fulfill your high-destined role." It's critical for each of us to know who we are and to not hide that. Knowing what we're called to do is the first step in accepting the role. I know that you've probably heard that notion of the Golden Buddha, the old story of the Golden Buddha. It's a legend, and it's taken on many, many variations over the years, but it's the story of this Buddha, that the place where the Buddha was when it was in Thailand, and when the Buddha was in a community that was being overrun, it was being overtaken by invaders. The monks covered the Buddha, a giant golden Buddha, they covered it in stucco to prevent it from being looted and destroyed by these hostile invaders. So eventually there came a time, a couple hundred years after the invasion, where nobody knew that Buddha was actually a golden Buddha. They had just come to accept the stucco Buddha. And then one day, by accident, a chunk of the stucco either got knocked off or it fell off, depending on which telling of the legend. But when the stucco broke off, by something hitting it. Remember that, by something hitting it, by a challenge to it, by an obstacle to it, something hit it and the stucco started to come off. And then everybody could see that, whoa, there was something cool under there, and they started digging it out. And that golden Buddha actually exists. It actually is in a temple in Thailand, and it's got a piece of the stucco next to it. So it's a true story, but it's also a beautiful metaphor. Yeah, and we're in a metaphorical metaphysical guide, so here's another metaphor. But that Buddha is a metaphor for each of us. We are the golden Buddha. When we see danger coming, that protective personality covers us up in a hard protective shell. We get told enough times to shut up. We get told enough times that we're much. We get told enough times that we're wrong, or we get told enough times in our societal role or in our education system to sit down, to sit still, so we won't be much, right? Over time, we forget that we were ever golden, if we ever noticed it at all. We forget what's under that protective shell, and we start to see ourselves and treat ourselves as the stone shell makes us seem. And our job is to know that with each of us, rather than think of that shell as stucco. Let's think of it as the chrysalis, right, around the butterfly. And when we went into that chrysalis, we were a caterpillar. We didn't know our capabilities. I had a client, she was just an unbelievable master blocker, and I would play all kinds of games with her in coaching sessions to get her to stop blocking. And one day she was noticing that suddenly there was a transformation taking place in her, and she yelled, "Oh my God, I thought this stuff was just playing. It was just fun. I didn't realize it was an instrument for cracking open the chrysalis of your life." And I was like, whoa, dude, I got to write that down. I love that phrase, cracking open the chrysalis of our lives. It's breaking the stone shell that is hiding the golden Buddha within. We are the player. We are the character. We are the treasure that we are seeking at the end of the story. It's all us, the true us. I know we get scared. I know we get told to hide away. I know we get told to stop being much. Or we get convinced that we aren't perfect for this role. But I'm going to tell you, absolutely are. And so when you get scared, when that chrysalis starts to break and you get scared, just remember the words of Richard Bach in Illusions. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. So I'm going to ask each of you out there right now listening to this to check in. Who are you as the golden Buddha? Who are you as the butterfly? What is under that shell? What is your much that you pushed down? Whatever it is, let's break that shell. Let's crack open the chrysalis of your life and start to acknowledge that you are, yes, you are a unique creative genius with a passion and a purpose you came here to share. And I promise you that when you do step into your role fully and start to acknowledge that even if you're scared, even if you're not sure what the next moment entails, when you start stepping into that role and accepting who you are and being who you are and playing that role, that's where the fun starts. I promise you. It just grows and expands and gets better from there. All right, my darlings. Have a beautiful, glorious, blessing-filled day as you look inside for all that golden Buddha-ness, all that butterflyness, and you step fully into the role of being so much you. All right, blessings, my friends. Have a beautiful time, and I will see you again soon. The Spontaneous Brilliance podcast is brought to you by Miracle Communications Group. Our producer is Michelle Oneida. Sound engineer is Corey Michaels at Corey Michaels Productions. Music is composed by Rex Miller. And I'm your host, Sandra Kavanaugh. You can learn more about me and all things spontaneous brilliance at sandrakavanaugh.com or spontaneousbrilliance.com. And please join the conversation here at the Spontaneous Brilliance Podcast by emailing us at podcast@spontaneousbrilliance.com. And have a beautiful, glorious, blessing-filled day.